Så, nu får vi se här om det fungerar någonting. Du får säga till om det dyker upp något.
Yes.
Mm. Kanske någonting jag behöver göra här i och för sig. Nej, det kan funka. Are we live?
Are we?
I'm not sure.
We are indeed. We
We
have
are.
7 viewers.
Oh, wow. I am impressed.
Be the Floyd.
All right, so does it work on both YouTube and Twitch?
Let me check the YouTube. We are indeed live on YouTube as well.
Oh my. This might actually work.
Oh, SB the Floyd, you are Yuri. Welcome. Also, welcome to Saxolive.
Nice.
And EE is also viewing us from YouTube.
Nice. These are names I've heard before, I think. Well, most of them. Yuri, obviously, but also Saxolive, I think I recognize. But yeah, I actually don't have the correct time. Yeah, we're 1 minute past. So
We
we're
are
actually on
indeed 1
time.
past.
So I don't know, we might start. But yeah, I guess we could introduce ourselves. I'm Jacob, and yeah, I'm part of the Hygge community on the central committee, together with Martin Falk.
And yes, as Jacob says, I'm also part of the committee. And in the game we're going to review today, I played England.
Yeah, and I played Japan and had a very lovely bandana with me, which I will not wear because it makes my head look stupid. But regardless, yeah, so this is a post-game analysis of Bergagårdhof 4, which is, I guess it's the second one we actually live streamed. And I don't know, I kind of felt like it was an eventful game.
I agree. It was a very, very eventful game and swingy. We like swingy games.
We do, we do. And, you know, you and I, we plan these things, and it's always a bit nerve-wracking just before, like, what if we get the balance wrong and everything? Because, like, you obviously don't want a pushover on either side. Like, you like swingy games because they're more engaging. So
Yes.
yeah, I think it turned out great. But yeah, I don't know. Like, should we talk about the game first or the awards first? I think we should do awards first,
I
and then
agree. Let's do the awards first.
yeah. So the first one is the greatest play, which is
Well,
the Rommel Award. And do you want to talk quickly about what that is?
basically, all the participants in the game get to vote on which plays or tactical maneuvers they like the most or had the most game impact. And this is what the Rommel Award is.
Yeah, and we have a bunch of different nominations here, I think. We have the US, Canadian, and the British Spearhead in and Hail Mary D-Day, which,
This,
well, this is a bit of a spoiler for the actual game, I guess. But
this is the problem with going with the awards first, but we do have to talk about the different plays here, I
we
feel.
do, we do. But we can go more in depth later, and I guess you could like ask in the chat if we have like any save, because like I have the game running in the background. When we're done with this like presentation, we can go into game and check things out if you wanna see what happened. essentially. But yeah, like one of the nominations is the U.S., Canadian, and UK D-Day, essentially, and seeing as it was nominated, it seems like it was successful.
If
Um,
these are the top three plays, as it says, these three plays were the ones among
yes,
many others that were the top three plays.
yes. And the second one is the Japanese blitz against the USA, basically taking all of the US islands and winning the Pacific. That's quite straightforward, but that's what happened. And the last one is Simon on Siam for his paradrop behind the enemy lines in Burma, which allowed Japan and Manchu to push through the Burma line. And yeah, I unfortunately don't have a save from that particular moment, but I think if you watch the game, I think the casters managed to capture that specific feat of tactical brilliance on camera. It was very nice. Also a bit spoilery. So yeah, we invade India, and it is indeed successful. But I think the next one is the winner. If you don't have anything else to add,
The thing I just want to add is I think most of our viewers have watched the game or know of this game since this is a post-game analysis. So
right?
there are going to be spoilers in our analysis.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
Don't watch this before you watch the game if you don't want any spoilers.
True. Or sorry for spoilers if you haven't watched the game. But yeah, so the winner was drum roll. No, oh, we don't do that. Japan. So it was me and Mako uh, for the early blitz against the US, and yeah, it was like we had funny tanks, and they were proving to be good, especially with all the bonuses. But I think we can go more into that later and check like specific templates and such. But moving on, we have the greatest grit, and what is that? The Mannerheim Award.
Yeah, the Great Script Mannerheim Award is basically being a tough son of a bitch to kill.
Sounds nice. So basically, it's the Finland Award, and fittingly enough, Finland is nominated for a heroic last stand and holding out alone against, well, everyone for 1.5 years after the fall of the Axis. Once again, with spoilers. Maybe we should turn this around for next time. But regardless, yes, this is one of the nominations. The second one is France for also holding out well into the 40s and yeah, killing a lot of German equipment and slowing down the Axis in general.
Yeah, also something that we will go into more detail during the actual analysis.
We will. And lastly, Raj for a heroic last stand. Buying
Poor
time and,
Pontus.
yeah, poor Pontus. Uh, I'm not sure he has had many fun games as the Raj, actually. I'm unsure of that. But regardless, he did as well as could be, I think. Um, but the victor of the Mannerheim Award is indeed Finland and Christer Nidenby. And that's very well deserved. Yeah, essentially, Finland made it so that the game could go on for 1.5 years more, and I think that was funny because that managed to enable some shenanigans you usually don't see in our games. Um, so yeah, well deserved of Krister and Finland. Yeah, do you have anything to add, or should we move on to the next?
I think we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, and then we have the unsung hero, the Marshall Award. And what is that?
This award is given to players who might not be obvious choices for gaming packs or stuff like that. Basically, if you're talking about goaltenders and defenders in sports balls,
Yeah,
it's these kinds of people that carry the team, but they do it from the dark or the
yeah,
shadows.
that is true. So we have a bunch of nominations, and the first one is Mako on Japan for basically like if you can see the if you've seen footage of the Access House, you can see where Mako is supposed to sit, and then you can see where Mako actually is, and that's never the same place, because he was always like running around and like giving advice and showing how they could do things better and like everything, and it seemed to be appreciated. So he got nominated, and uh, another one is the German adventure of the Hochseeflotte. And yeah, killed a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure if you're particularly like sad about losing that, but
Um,
yeah,
it's
they
never fun losing things, of course.
no, but yeah, I think Johannes had fun with the High Seas fleet, and he had very fun right until it ran out of fuel. And then we have the last one, which is Brazil, for essentially not playing the game, but instead
Yeah,
just building rubber plantations, which was very useful this game.
yeah, I do have stuff to add here. This was hilarious because I talked to him the day before the game,
Yeah,
and another player had convinced him that this is a good strategy. So I was talking to him, and are you sure you want to do this? Like, do you really want to sit the entire game building rubber plants?
yeah,
And he told me, and this is an actual quote, that I like the economy side of Hearts of Iron.
yeah,
And he wasn't this wasn't sarcastic. He looked at me dead in the eye and said he loved the economy side of Hearts of Iron.
yeah, yeah. We're not judging. It's a very good sentiment if you want to get nominated for the Marshall Award. And I would say this game it was very useful.
It was indeed.
It was indeed. Also spoilers, but yeah. But the winner was actually Mako again, because he, yeah, basically because of the coaching and you know keeping up the high spirits and made sure people kept fighting and so on.
A well
Uh,
deserved award.
yeah, but both before the game and during the game especially. So yeah, and I think we have some more. Yes, we have the MVP allies, the Distinguished Service Order, and this
Who
time
could it
it's
be?
yeah, this time it was more. We voted right after the game during banquet, and the winner was you, Martin,
Yay!
the UK. And why did you win? Do you think?
Well, without going too much detail into our analysis, basically I had a game where I was everywhere all at once and just had a fun game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can be at more places if you fly there.
Like,
Uh,
spoiler alert, but there's seldomly you get to retake New York as England.
that is true. That is true. But that was very important this game. Um, but yeah, uh, let's move on to the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. Which
And who could this be?
who could this be? Maybe the one who took New York, being me and Mako as
And why
Japan.
did you and Mako win this?
I think because we took New York. Uh, and most of the US west of that. Though we never managed to actually capitulate America, we had a very good game as Japan. So
America was very close to capitulating this game.
very very close. I think if we had gotten a few more collabs and honestly, if we had held on to New York, we might have been able to cap them. I still think the Allies would have won. Spoiler, just on points, but there's a certain like personal victory to messing with the
Indeed.
Americas. Yeah,
I think actual USA has capitulated once in our entire history of Hearts of
yeah,
Iron gaming, and that was in a very memey game.
yeah, yeah. No, hasn't happened in a long time. We've had some incursion into the mainland US, but it's mostly been like you land on a port and then you pull out just to scare them. But this was a proper battle. But we can go into that later, I think. And I think that's all the awards. So I think we can jump into the game. Do you have any comments from the chats?
We only have, I think this is got to be Mako as Saxony, judging by his comments, but he's mostly just commenting, not really posing any questions.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, I'll open up the game now. So now the viewers should be able to see what's happening in game. And I loaded up the Danziger War save. Um, but yeah, like a general overview of what happened up until this point is, well, it's the normal game. And um, then the Danziger War. Like noteworthy this time was, well, that China War went well. So
It was a
uh,
quick China war.
it was a quick China War and economic China War, which made it so that we had a lot of guns, as you can see here. Um, and that resulted in Japan not having to build that many shooters, but could instead focus on air and stuff. But that's neither here nor there, and it was a late war, Japan, so nothing really happened until 1942, which is why we focus on Germany initially.
Would you say that you enjoyed the economy part of the game during these few years?
Well, I enjoyed the economy part of the game this year because I had a lot of civilian factories as Japan. Uh, so that was very funny. But ordinarily, no, I don't think I never ever would have built rubber quite as ferociously as Brazil did. Um,
Also, we have a question from Ivan here. He wants you to go more into the actual tactics and strategies of the Sino-Japanese War.
I can totally do that, but maybe perhaps after he's played Japan on Sunday.
All right.
But yeah, no, but generally, so the thing with China is that there's like two phases. So like obviously you start over here, and all the yellow thing here is Chinese instead, and then you push over to Beijing, and there's basically a race for the supply hubs. So ordinarily you just push down here, and then you take these supply hubs, and then you take this one, and then it's quite a struggle to get to the next one, which is down in Wuhan. And once you have Wuhan and Nanjing and everything, then you go west and basically punch out China. And that's doable, but it takes time. Um, but what we did this game was that we divided our army in half. So half army was up here and was commanded by Mako. So Mako and August on Manchu um, basically took all of this and essentially ignored Nanjing, um, while I went south and took all the supply hubs from the south here. So a lot of these railway connections aren't uh, like we've built them.
Yeah.
It doesn't start like
China
this.
has very few railway connections during the war.
Exactly. So like it's a supply game essentially. So
And for people that don't know, supply hubs being connected by rivers count as a level 1 railway.
yes, yes. But like from this part, no rivers connect from the southern part because we landed in Guangzhou and like these ports here, um, and it's very mountainous and such. So like if we had taken Nanjing, we would have connected this to the railway, to the river network essentially. It's simulated by the blue ribbon here, I think. Um, but yeah, we built level one railroads instead. So basically, we cut off China like this, and then we went west and kind of ignored Nanjing and everything, um, and capitulated them. And that was it, basically.
We also have a
So,
question from Saxolive again. He's asking, since you captured so many shitty guns from the Chinese, did your divisions ever run out of stats?
Kinda, but also I think we can go more into like the late game part of Japan, because the infantry was not that impressive actually. We made AMF tanks instead, and they were the spearhead. And then we just had basically infinite amounts of line line infantry. Um, but thanks to like these huge amounts of guns, we could have a lot of men who could be everywhere. So even if like a specialized infantry miner like Australia probably had better inf than Japan, we just had 4 times as much, so it didn't matter much. And we had tanks, which were very good. But generally, like the quality of the Japanese inf is worse than it usually is. Yeah.
And we'll get into this later, but a big part of the win as well was naval superiority for Japan for like pretty much the entire Pacific campaign.
Yeah. But speaking of inf, we had an inf Germany this game. So they didn't have any or like many tanks at least. I think
They had a
these,
converted light tanks, but that was pretty much it.
yeah, and like these are decent. Like for being light tanks, they're fine, I think.
They are.
And later on, I think they basically delete these divisions and they put them as recon in all of the infantry. Because right now they don't have that. Yeah, right.
They did lose, I think, 3 light tank divisions in France as well.
Maybe, yeah, possibly. I actually have a save later on here. But yeah, basically, this is the German stuff. Like, it's not impressive right now. It takes off later on. I think the main punching force are these heavy infantry, which I think are quite useful for punching through forts, but there's not that many of them. In fact, there's only 5. Yeah. And then there's the mountaineers, which are the same, essentially.
Yeah, also very good attacking divisions,
Yeah.
especially for forts, as you said.
Yeah. No, I think that's decent. Italy had like basic infantry. Hungary had no industry at this point. Well, that's a lie. He had no military factories. He had, as you can see, quite a few civilian factories. I don't
This
think I've
also
ever
seems like
seen
a person
that
that
many.
enjoy the economy side of the game.
Yeah, I would say like if it's December, like August 39, and you have 160 civilian factories, you do enjoy the economy part of the game, no matter what you say, actually. I think that's not more than Germany, but I think it's more than Italy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Uh, might even be more than the UK. Just under, like
Just under.
one less, but without the trade, most certainly. But yeah, France did good here.
They
So
did.
I don't know what they had. It's like a basic French build. Seems like they're lacking some equipment, but evidently they didn't really need it uh, because they held for a long time. I think it
And
was
a
Sticky who played
huge
France.
part of this, and it was sticky.
Yeah,
And a huge part of this was that the Allied had green air over France pretty much the entirety of the
yeah,
Battle of France campaign.
yeah. Because you have how many? You have 1.7K, and then you have another. So like, let's say 19 air wings, and Germany has 15.
And we have an
Yeah,
airbase advantage, of course, in France.
you do, and a home field and everything. So it was slog. Uh, the French weren't forced to capitulate, but yeah, they did good. They did good. I don't know. Do you want to check anything else right now?
We could just keep talking like a little bit of Battle of France because this was a
Yeah,
very impactful event.
I think we
France
have a
did
save from it. from when it started.
Oh, great. I think March they're still alive.
I think so too. Um, no, I think they just capitulated here.
Oh, that's
Yes, they
sad.
just capitulated here. But yeah, they held on to March.
And what we can see here from the casualty lists, the Germans have taken a serious amount of casualties already.
They have, I think. Yes, they have. Yeah, that's a lot of casualties from both France and the UK because you were also in
Indeed.
France. Weren't
I
you?
sent, as the UK, you get a bunch of so-called Dad's Army troops at this stage of the game.
Yeah,
And when I saw that France was holding, I decided to just, fuck it, let's send over all the home guard and see what happens.
yeah. And they're usually not great, but they're here.
Yeah, they're there.
Yeah,
They're meat.
they're meat.
And throughout the entire Battle of France with the Green Arrow, I was just watching the cast do damage and damage and damage.
Yeah, because you had way less cast than Germany has, but if they don't have green air, it doesn't matter. So,
Exactly.
um, because cast contributes very little to air superiority compared to fighters. But something happened down here as well. It seems like. Care to explain what?
What we noticed here was that they were not really helping Italy. So we
Yeah,
decided to, well, we can push. Italy can't push us without backup.
yeah,
And what we found here was Algot having made a fort up in the mountains here.
yeah,
And that actually took us a long time to get rid of.
yeah. I can see that. Level 240 here, level 240 here. Yeah, yeah. This doesn't look nice at all, actually. Um, I would be very upset if this happened.
And
Not
the
to give
best
you
part
any
is that
ideas
we had
for playing.
to do this twice.
Yes, don't you? Because this is the first Battle of North Africa,
Yes.
and
And
not the last.
but we captured most North Africa here and go all the way to Tunisia.
Yeah,
But then order a withdrawal when we feel that we don't have enough troops to cover us and we can't really take any more strategic objectives at this point.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
pull back all the way to Al Alamein.
You do. This is what you're doing. This is a lot of soft attack for the combat width. Um, yeah, no, that this seems fine. Yeah, and the Canadians are here, and South Africans are here too. Yeah,
We're all here.
we're all here. Yeah, that's nice, I think. Um, at this point, I don't think Mexico has joined the war yet. No, nor has Brazil, and obviously North America either. I think we might have one final save from the Battle of North Africa. We'll see here. June. No, I think they pull back here, but I'm not sure if it's the final confrontation, so to speak. But we can check. Yeah, because here the Italians are pulling back for some reason. But you've taken Benghazi successfully, and it's just Alagalia left. With
I actually think this is. Huh.
Is this also the first?
That's still the first punch.
All right.
Because the second punch is after Barb.
Okay. Okay. We might see that too then. And yeah, otherwise, not much has happened. Germany is still like preparing to do stuff. Um, because
What's
from the
also
start, this
happening.
was
Sorry.
decided to be a late Bob. So there would be no Bob during 41. Um, to
Oh, then I know what we need to talk about here.
Yeah,
Because at
sure.
this stage, I have been having nearly 100% naval and industry intel on the Germans. And he has
Yes.
spent most of the game building screens. But
Yes.
at this stage, he swaps all his naval dockyards onto modern battleships.
Yes.
And in my mind, the only thing this can mean is a seelöwe.
Yeah,
So what happens here is that the Allies get orders about all new troops being produced. They're going to the UK main islands. All
right.
the British troops stay on the main islands. All the new Canadian divisions, they go to UK.
Yeah, because here you
And
can
this
see
is for
all
a
the light
seal of a
infantry.
defense.
Yeah, because he's produced at least 31 light cruisers, which are very bad, but will be converted with better guns and everything. Yeah, because here you can see he has a huge navy lined up, and this is top of the line. Um,
And I know at this stage, since I haven't got a naval build, I will not be able to beat him on the high seas.
yeah,
The Americans say they will be able to take care of it, but I'm not confident I will be able to hold off actual naval invasion.
yeah,
So I need troops in Britain. And this will lead to something funny later in the game.
it will. So essentially, from 1940, you order all the new divisions to go here.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
all the new Allied divisions are going to England.
right, right. And speaking of the Americans, I think we could get a preview of what they're planning to do, navy-wise at least, because here they have a bunch of destroyers and a bunch of heavy ships, which are, well, basically the same as Johannes, more or less, but significantly more of them, and also produced with 120 dockyards.
The Americans did go a very heavy naval build.
They
They
did,
went all in on their navy, which was part of the Allied strategy here. Where I would built, I think I built 2 dockyards the entire game.
yeah. Usually just to like to round up the numbers to like from
Indeed.
58 to 60. Yeah, yeah. I like to do that too. But yeah, as you see here, like the Americans have a very large amount of destroyers. Like they have at least 87 um, number two destroyers with just basic torpedoes. Like these aren't very good, but I imagine they're useful for leveling up the MIO. Yes, they have. So they have, yeah, basically all the good stuff you want for torpedo spam destroyers, which is indeed what they went for. And here they have the 39 tech going out, and they have the heavy ships as well. So yeah, this is essentially what the Americans are going for. It's these two type of ships. It's the battleship and it's the destroyer, um, which has quite a lot of torpedo attack, which works. Um, but yeah, I think we're done with this phase of the game. I think.
The only other big thing that's happening at this stage of the game is the air war. And the
Hmm.
Axis are being out traded heavily in the African campaign.
Yeah, let's check this. They have 23 here. They might have more in stockpile. No, they do not.
And if you go to like the North African air zone where
Yeah,
there's most of the battles going on, you can check the casualty numbers for the past year, especially in the Libya air zone, but also Egypt.
yeah. How do you even check that?
If you go to Libya in
Details.
details, and you can do months and years.
Enemy troops bombed. Let's see here.
And you can see there they have a 3-to-1 casualty ratio.
Where? There. Yeah, right. Right. Oh, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That
And this will
shows the
keep
power of the
going the entire
Spitfire.
game. As Don checked after the game, the UK shot down more
Hmm.
airplanes than every other country in the game combined.
Yeah, because you have only 2,000 fighters deployed, but you have an additional 400 in reserves, and you produce a lot, almost four a day, whilst Germany produces actually also four a day. So, but I
And I
think,
did swap
yeah,
onto the 39 fighters much earlier than the Germans did.
yeah, I think so too. But the problem with Germany is that eventually they run out of aluminium, They can do a bit more, but you know, eventually it's quite tricky for them. But yeah, do you want to check the later dates?
Yes,
Um,
let's keep going.
yeah, yeah. And I think the next one should be basically this one, I think. Um, this is right before I go in as Japan. So I think that's a good time to watch the preparations in the Pacific. Now do you have any comments from the chats or anything? I
We
could
have
open it, but I'm lazy, and also I believe in magic, and the streaming won't work if I do anything other than what I'm supposed to.
Mortal Vision is talking about the fuel issues for Germany, and I agree on this, especially having that many aircraft, which you need as Germany, but also having this heavy battle fleet that they will have
Yeah,
will cause a lot of fuel issues.
yeah. Combined with all of their infantry requires fuel. So as soon as they move or do anything, fuel is expended.
You'd think that they'd be a low fuel build since they don't really have tank divisions, but
Yeah,
everything else adds up.
yeah. I actually think this requires more fuel than a full-on tank because usually you have like 8 to maybe 16 tanks moving around, and obviously they're fuel hogs, but that's better compared to like 100 infantry divisions requiring a little fuel, um, especially when you have a lot of airplanes as well. Because at this point they have a lot of area for here. And yeah, yeah, here we can see that the Italians retook some stuff, or you pulled back, or whatever. But
It was just the
regardless,
first push where we were almost, I think, most of North Africa at that stage,
yeah,
but decided to pull back because uh,
oh,
we noticed that, well, noticed the Axis did not go for a normal barb,
yeah,
which meant that we were not feeling confident in holding on to North Africa, especially since at this stage all the reinforcements are still going to England.
yeah,
Because I can still not, in my mind, think that the battleships are for any other reason than the Seelöwe.
no. And well, to be honest, uh, well, that was the plan. So
Oh, a thing you can see here as well. See
yeah,
the naval battles in the French Channel.
yes. Oh
Um,
yeah, this is interesting.
these are light cruisers. Them together, my light cruisers in the French Channel, together with Dutch submarines in the Pacific, will sink, well, all the German convoys. They're going to go down to zero convoys.
Yeah, I mean they're at 19 right now, so not that long to go.
No, the German convoys did not have a great game.
No, yeah, you don't want to be a German merchant, that's for sure. This game, but yeah, they're building up this quite beefy division, and I know the idea is to increase this to have more heart attack. Um, this doesn't seem right, but right now it's more accurate, and this is what they're building for, I think. Yeah. Um, so they're still quite far behind on the production of heavy AT, but they don't go in for a while yet. But yeah, this basically what's happened in Europe is, well, as you said, you pull back from Africa again, which I think is a wise choice. Um, whilst everyone else was preparing, and so were we. So if we move over to Japan, we've been able to be at war for a month now, but we've not actually done it because I was well, I didn't enjoy the eco side of the war much enough to time my production sufficiently. So I was not actually ready to fight uh, thus far. But as you can see here, we managed to prepare a few naval invasions um, of various islands, and I think we made more before we were done with this. And yeah, had like 4 million men in the field. This is a very like a personal record for how much just shit I've pumped out of Japan.
And if we check, if you go to army equipment fielded at this stage, how much of this is Chinese equipment?
Oh, I imagine most
If
of it. Uh,
infantry
at
equipment,
least the infantry equipment, yeah.
yeah, at least half, more than half of your
Yeah,
infantry equipment at this stage is Chinese
yeah,
leftovers.
yeah, this is half. This is half. Yeah, two-thirds, I'd say. Something like that. But yeah, like a good China war is very important for this kind of build because that made it so that I had just like infinite amount of these kinds of divisions, which are fine. Like most of this is Chinese equipment and early tech, but like they're still good. We still produce pack arty and everything, so like 400 soft attack is perfectly viable for like just a basic template. And this is nothing fancy. Like these aren't very good inf, but we have a lot of it,
Yeah.
and that's the key here. Um, because that means you can always just like put something on the line and everything. But as you can see, we don't really have a lot on the border to India, nor do we have that much here. Actually, here we have some, uh, but the main force is over here, and these are the Amtrak divisions we will use to basically eat Dankus, I think.
Yeah, and to
And
quote Dankus at this stage, when those hit, basically just kept repeating, "What are these stats? What are these stats?"
yes, yes, which was funny because we went up against pretty much the same on his part, but well, Japan is overpowered early on. It's just the way it is. Like the first month, the first 2 months, Japan has a lot of extra like modifiers and such that makes it easier to do well basically anything. Like your navy is unstoppable and your infantry pushes really hard, and especially against America, you have a multitude of bonuses. And me being like Munchkin knew this and decided to focus on the US first. And well, that was a good strategy because this is January 42, and I think I have a save right after too.
What is the
May 41.
experience on your tank divisions at this stage?
They are very experienced. They're maximum experienced because they're the same kind of divisions I used in Japan. So like after a while, I just converted them into Japanese division, tank divisions. So basically, we had everything going for it. So if we check it down here, this is a few months later, and yeah, the plan went well, basically.
So
Uh,
the actual invasions can be explained by a lot of stats on the Japanese divisions. But
yeah,
what happened at sea?
at sea, not much happened actually, because I had this quite heavy fleet. Um, so there were like heavy cruisers and a bunch of light cruisers who just had a lot of light attack, which was very good against the American destroyers. And Dankus knew this, so he never really engaged. I think I sunk something here, but I never did. He was never in the Pacific during Tora Tora Tora, and I think this is when Tora Tora ends. So I don't think I've actually sunk anything. I think we could check that here. No, oh, like almost nothing. No actual hulls. Like I sunk a few Dutch stuff, but otherwise it's just mostly convoys. Um, but do not fear, like this navy will fight later, but not during the initial push in the Pacific. But right here, you see we have the Pacific is under our control, and this is obviously a very nice boost for us. But more importantly, it's a debuff against America, because here you see like they're worse at everything, and they produce less, and they have less stability, and they have less everything. So
Yes.
like this is the main thing we did, and at this point, the U.S. has nothing. You can see they lost pretty much everything they had on the islands. They have no divisions right now. Um, they are just training up a new army as we speak. They had some stuff in the UK, presumably to defend against that sea lava that never happened. Um, but they are like rebuilding their army here now. And at this point, I'm not sure there's much of a strategy. Um, but well, this is what they have, and like these are obviously good tanks and good divisions.
I think it's at this stage that Dankus decides that he doesn't want to be in this Pacific anymore.
Yeah, let's hope I didn't mess anything up now. Too bad. I think it went fine. Okay. Yeah, no. He kind of abandoned this, and well, I can't blame him. It's almost impossible to retake Hawaii um, because it's the first thing you reach in the Pacific. Like if we check the U.S. fleet, um, like these are the like main compositions. Right, there's 9 battle cruisers looking like this, so they're very good. And then there's a bunch of destroyers with a lot of torpedo attack. And he had one, two, about to be 3 of those, because he's producing more of them right now as well. So he has 2 battle ready fleets and a third on the way. But like he can barely reach the Pacific. Like he can't reach Hawaii with this. So he has to make a specialized fleet just to be able to reach Hawaii. Um, and then he has to try and retake it without any air and everything. So like it, I think it was a good call
It is
by
a tall
Dankers.
order.
Yeah, I think it's a good call to like abandon the Pacific. And as you can see here, I think I'm building up. At this point, I'm rebuilding like airports and everything on Hawaii and making it into a fortress in anticipation of an attack on the U.S. But that happens later. Uh, but yeah, right now we're just kind of invading everything we can. As you can see, we've done good progress in the like proper Pacific, but it's still quite slow in every other regard. Like we haven't taken Singapore and everything, and that's because like we focused exclusively on taking out the U.S. But this is about to change, I would say, and I think now we can check a bit on the Allied side, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Let's go to the Allied side. We're heading into Barb at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I have a Bob save. It's this is the Bob save. Right, it is. So this is what they are barbing with. Um, so this is the German infantry and like German air force and everything. Um, as we can see here, there's a bunch of like tanks on well everyone basically.
But this is
Bullets.
still a 1942 Barb, and that's not a lot of mobile divisions.
It's not a lot of mobile divisions.
I'm counting 7 on Bulgaria and
Yeah,
Hungary.
6, 7, 8, 9, uh, and I think that's all. Spain
We
is
also
also
had a
in the.
Spanish volunteers, indeed.
We did, but I don't think they have too much out right now. Indeed, they haven't said anything. That's weird.
Saxoliv is asking, what are the Japanese spies doing? Shouldn't they be doing more collabs on the USA?
I'm not sure what they're doing at this point of the game. There was a vague idea of doing that, but we have, yeah, right. As you see here, we've just completed collabs on Australia and on Roche. Yeah, like at this point, they should be doing collabs on the US. But as you see, like we have a network prepared, we're just not running the operations, which is indeed like a mistake from our part.
But
Yeah,
maybe you didn't know that there would be a massive American invasion in this game yet.
yeah, kinda. Uh, but like, it's also like in the chaos of well, when everything is happening, like the initial months as a Japan player on like during Tora Tora are probably the most stressful in Hoi, because that's basically when you make or break your game. Um, because initially you can do anything, so as long as you can do anything quickly enough, you can do everything, more or less. But that also makes it so that you sometimes forget spies, which we indeed did this game. Not everywhere, but on the US definitely. But we have a bunch of collabs on other places. But yeah,
Okay,
there's not
let's go into the
not.
force composition for Barb. What are the Soviets doing here?
Yeah, let's check the Soviets. The Soviets have less army than Japan, but they have they have the garrison build, and they have a very bare bones version of the garrison build. Um, Honorarily commanded by Don the Real Boppus, which is very fitting, I think, seeing as he's the well, you could say the spiritual father of the garrison build, I think. Um,
And
yeah, they're
it's not a secret that I'm not a proponent of the garrison build, especially
mm,
this kind where you don't have any attack not attack stats on the divisions.
yeah, nor am I actually. Uh, like there's something to be said for overballing, but you need to be able to push with something, and you're basically just delaying. I think it could maybe work if you had like a ridiculous amount of air and gas, maybe, but requires further study. But evidently it worked. Uh, well, actually, not evidently. They got pushed quite hard early on, and the problem with the garrison build is quite easy to spot, which makes it so that the Hungarians can make tanks like this. Um, like this. And this is basically a tank designed to eat infantry. um, I am sure the miners had great fun trying to kill as many Soviets as they could with this kind of tanks. Because I think this is what Hungary's going for. I think this is what Bulgaria's going for, roughly. And I'm pretty sure that's what Spain's going for as well. Um, so the Axis has a build that's designed to counter the Soviets. Um, but yeah. Um, oh, and there's another push.
Well, it was one infantry division walking up to and seeing what was there. But
Yeah,
the push is coming after that scout saw that there was nothing in Africa anymore.
yeah. Because at this point, the Canadians have abandoned North Africa. No, they're still here.
No, there are still Canadians.
They are still here, but there are no tanks in India, right?
No, we
No.
decided at this stage that the French could support India, but we're not sending any tanks to die in India.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah,
holding on to India as long as we can, but we know it's lost at this stage. Since
yeah.
my fleet cannot fight the Japanese fleet, there is no point in going all in on defending Raj.
No, and that's callous, but probably correct. um, but yeah, maybe we should. I don't know, like
We're getting some chat messages. There are people that want to show the hero of the game, Brazil. What
yes,
are Brazil after at this stage?
let's. They have a surprising number of divisions, actually. This is way more than I would guess from having 9 military factories.
And
But this
these
is
will,
what they
at a
have.
later stage, invade Florida.
Uh, yeah, they've gone free trade. They get a lot of factories from trade.
How much rubber are they producing at this
40.
stage?
They're producing 2,000, like almost 3,000, which is, I think, like twice the amount that they usually do. Um, yeah, that means they've maxed it out in all of these blue areas. Um,
And he's actually building invasion defense.
yeah, yeah, he is. Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to invade all that easily here, actually. Even on the tiles that doesn't have anything else. But
No one is going to take Brazil's rubber. It's his rubber. It's
that
his
is very
precious.
true. That is very true. But yeah, like this game, I think being able to export like 2,000 rubber is very useful. You see, like that's what the Americans are buying. And as you can see here, the rubber islands aren't long for this world. Um, so I think this is basically the sole supply of rubber in the late game for the Allies.
There are some minor sources outside of Southeast Asia, but the lion part is
Yeah,
indeed in Brazil at this stage.
yeah, like Madagascar and some part of Central Africa and such.
Yeah,
But yeah, and well, Germany. But we'll get to that later. Um, actually, we might get to that now. Like, unless there are specific requests during this stage of the war, we can go until the well effective end date.
yeah, we
Um,
have none. Like, do we have any saves closer to German capitulation?
well, we have this one
Yeah,
on
let's go
December
for that.
15th. Yeah, which is indeed very close to the German capitulation. I think it's well, the German capitulation. Let's see here.
And as the people that have been with us for this entire evening know,
Yeah,
do you remember me talking constantly about me being scared of that Seelöwe?
yeah, I kind of
This
do.
led to troops being in England, and troops being in England cannot only defend.
No, that means you have what is it, 90, almost 100 divisions in Europe being able to do shenanigans in Italy
And the
and everything.
Americans have been sending over all their tanks ever since they abandoned the Pacific. The Canadians had put all their armor in England as well. And
Yeah,
this led to a push that the Allies actually had more
yeah,
tanks in France than the entire Euro Axis had, well, in the world.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. And there is one beacon of hope for the Axis, and that's indeed Finland, which at this point hasn't lost a lot. And I just want to check the casualties. Yeah, okay. So Finland is the greatest killer of Soviets in this game, followed by Romania. So Romania did a good job. But yeah, as you can see, basically quite quickly after, oh yeah, and this is the state of Asia. Uh, and this happened quite quickly after the last save. We took New Zealand, Australia, Indonesia, and then we finished it off with Rosh. And I would say we tried doing this and actually succeeded in doing well this because we're here. Um, but yeah, so the problem with winning here is that the US can focus on other things, such as liberating Prague and surrounding Budapest. And that is indeed an issue. And I think if you watch German casualties, yeah, the United States is the biggest killer by far.
Yeah.
Um,
the Canadians and the Americans are the spearheads in this invasion with our mobile tank divisions, and
Yeah,
they're gonna get a lot of kills punching through France.
they are. They are. So this was a very quick war, like a very quick D-Day. We
Yeah,
unfortunately don't have any saves during the actual D-Day. Um,
and what happens at the same time, because the Euro-Axis don't really have troops enough to hold fight on two fronts at the same time.
yeah,
So they pull a lot of troops off of the Eastern Front,
yeah,
which collapses the Eastern Front, which leads to the Soviets hitting Romania and taking the oil fields. And this was
yeah,
a Euro axis that was even before they lost Romania, they were running out of oil.
yeah. And they have these nasty light tanks, I think, which are quite quick. Can't see it here, but yeah, anti-Johannes forces, which is not the correct speed. This is the correct speed. Yeah. So these are like basically as fast as tanks go. Um, they were just racing towards Bucharest and like all of the oil fields in Romania. And that quite quickly meant that Germany couldn't fight in any of the areas. Like they couldn't use their navy, they couldn't use their air force, they couldn't use their infantry because they were out of fuel. I'm not like I don't think it would have made that much of a
Much of a
difference.
difference. I actually agree
Like
at this stage.
yeah,
They
like
were out
even if they
divisioned heavily.
yeah, like even if Romania held and like the Soviets stayed at this line, I still kind of think like the Allies would have won.
They
Um,
didn't have enough troops to hold off both the Western invasion and
no,
stay on the Eastern Front.
no, they didn't. Unfortunately, like I know Johannes was sad about that, and I get that. But we have we have some Spanish troops moving around, having well heavy tanks. Uh, that's not
Italy
not
does hold
easy.
on for a while longer.
They do, they do. They have this nice mountain range, which is fairly easy to defend. But yeah, like as you see here, like they're also getting punched through.
And at this stage, I think that might be the naval battle that we can see outside Italy. Or if we're lucky, that's where the Italian fleet meets its fate. It's out of fuel fate. No,
Yeah,
it's not. Sad. Oh, it's
I
already
think it
happened.
is. Like here is the yeah, his super heavy carriers are getting sunk and a battleship as well, and doesn't look like the main engagement though. But
Sadly,
yeah,
the
it is
entire
definitely
Italian
lost.
fleet was lost, barely sinking any ships because, again, no fuel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, it's completely out here. Um, but there's stuff happening here. uh, so
The war
interestingly
for
enough,
America's
thanks
barely
for
begun.
yeah, like thankfully Finland is now a major. Um, so that means, or actually, like in like any second, Finland is a major, and that means the Allies can't capitulate the faction until Finland is dead. And Finland has very good bonuses to fighting in Finland. So they delay everything for a year, um, which means that they buy me time to, well, move east and have a very bloody battle. So we can check the casualties right now. We've lost like a bunch here. The Emperor of Japan has lost quite lot of stuff in the Americas. But like it's not comparable to what the US has lost. But
No.
I don't think we've seen these kind of casualties in a long time because this is the end save. I think this is where eventually Finland is capitulated. And it's a bit buggy because it's locked in the peace screen, so we might be able to check some casualties. The game might crash. We don't know, but we will find out soon. And yeah, so the Soviets declare on us, and well, we basically give up China and just focus on this. Um, because at this point, we have an autistic focus on capitulating Dangus. Um, and this
And
is not
actually,
the
don't think this is
greatest
the
extent.
furthest you got. You
No,
got a lot
no.
further than this.
Yeah, like we were over here, but at this point I pulled back a bit because I couldn't fight in the mountain trains. So the idea was
Oh, from our side, we thought it was the air zone because that's
no,
an air zone as well.
yeah, it is like yeah, the East Coast is tricky, but more importantly, like we couldn't really fight you in the mountains here. So the gamble was to pull back and try and do encirclements on the plains here, because like we had still quite good tanks and everything, um, wherever they are.
And at this stage,
Yeah,
I'm mostly yelling at allies and myself to build air bases
yeah,
because that was our win condition. I felt.
yeah. But at this point, like you are decisively winning the air war. Our fighters lost, enemy fighters lost. Like we trade better, but like we have more expensive fighters as well. So yeah, like you would win. You would win this game if it had gone on. Like even if well this happened, I think. But we had a very fun game. Um,
It was indeed.
yeah, and here you see we have a lot of like the casualties have been racking up. Uh, both against like Canada, which has surprisingly few casual kills for how much mayhem they caused. But I guess they didn't actually finish off the encirclements. That was left to others, which is a good idea. And this is a very high casualty America and well everyone basically.
And
Um,
this is without the your. No, it's with the your axis casualties. Yeah, it
yes,
is.
it is. It is. So like the Germans didn't manage to do much against the Americans because they were fully like tank. They only had tanks in Europe basically. Um, but yeah, this was a very fun game, and there were like Irish tanks rolling up in New Orleans, and
Yeah, I love
no,
that the miners getting together and doing the Florida invasion.
yeah, yeah, no, that's amazing. This is an illegal tank, but I don't mind that much because it's oh right, this is what happens.
And it didn't have much game impact,
No,
really.
it didn't. It's fine. Let's see here. Um, yeah, this is a bit of an abomination. Uh, but well, technically, I think this is legal because you don't have more. I don't know. Whatever. Regardless, this was a crazy game, and well, we managed to sink all the American fleet, and
We have a
well,
comment from Ivan. He wants to
yeah,
comment on that division you just showed us. He
yeah,
says, "What the fuck is that? Haha."
yeah. That's I I
That's an
I
apt
don't know.
comment.
Yes, I don't know. It's a very front-heavy division, I'd say. Um, but like it kind of worked for just moving forward, I guess. Like the Irish infantry was better, but still, even Brazil is pitching in here, which is amazing. Um, but yeah,
The Rubber Kingdom is coming to the rescue.
the River Kingdom is coming to the rescue. We never managed to take Seattle. These two American tanks just sat here the whole game. Uh, but yeah, everything else went fine, I think. Yeah, no, it was a crazy game. Like having a proper battle all over the American continent was wild, actually. Um,
Yeah, and I haven't ever had a moment like where the joint Canadian English divisions have to retake New York,
yeah,
and that was troublesome.
yeah, because like New York is an urban tile, so we just sat here and
It's a pain to retake. What
yeah,
finally broke it was that there was an English naval invasion behind New York.
yeah. So you were invading up on Long Island essentially, and then I got encircled, and I pulled out, but like I lost some stuff, and we did the same with Washington. Washington was harder to hold. Um, And honestly,
Washington's
I
not
think
cheap
if
to
we'd
attack.
taken Philadelphia as well, I think that might have been enough victory points to actually capitulate them.
At that stage, I think so too. If you had held on
Yeah,
to Philadelphia, Washington, or New York, that would have
yeah,
been the end of the USA.
yeah, yeah. Like it wasn't far off. Yeah, maybe Boston as well. But yeah, like it hinges on a few tiles before the Americans actually capitulate here. But I don't know what they're at right now.
We're also getting some troll questions from the chat. Johannes wants to know what the Polish are up to.
I don't know. Let's see. I think at this point they just got their country back. They are up to nothing, or maybe
I think you're on the
I'm
Soviet pole.
probably on the wrong part of Poland. I don't know. Like I don't think I can actually check it here because the game's messed up. But
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is yeah, the game is AI
yeah, yeah.
bugged at
Because
this
as soon as I
stage.
move away from Japan and this save, everything collapses. Um, but I don't know what the Polish were up to. I don't know, doing Polish stuff, I guess. We were quite sweaty at this point, but we had magnificent battles like on the American East Coast with like carriers invading like waves and waves of torpedoes, which actually worked out fine because the U.S. fleet here, you see, everything is damaged.
It's
Actually,
gone.
this is not. Yeah, it's gone essentially. Yeah, this is the starting destroyers, and this is the starting fleet.
I remember something from the end of game quiz. I didn't
Yeah,
think this would happen, and I still don't really can't wrap my hand around it. But the British are supposedly the ones with the most ships at this stage of the game.
they might be.
Because I remember that from the quiz, it was one of the questions.
Yeah, they might be. Oh wait, they've gotten from. I don't think we can see that properly because they have captured America, German stuff now.
It is indeed
I
German
guess.
ships as well, I think.
Yeah, no, actually, like this seems reasonable. I don't think you had any destroyers because I think Johannes sunk all of them,
Yeah, I think Johannes sunk the escort
or
destroyers,
maybe
and
not.
I didn't. Oh, right, I built
Yeah, never mind.
anti-submarine destroyers.
Yeah, no, you had them, so you probably had the most ships because this is like 200 roughly. Yeah, almost 200. And I think Japan is the contender, but I don't think we have as much because we have fewer destroyers.
Yeah, it
Uh,
doesn't mean much. Like that stat is pointless. A tonnage stat would be much more interesting.
it would. And in that case, we probably would have won because we
I
had
think
more
I think
stuff.
Japan had more
Yeah.
ships
But
per
as you can see here,
point
like
in
this
tonnage.
used to be a complete light cruiser screen, but as you can see, most of it is now like bullshit destroyers because, well, they died
They got
multiple times.
torpedoed.
Yeah, but I like this screen, like just checking the amount of casualties on every carrier has almost like 80 kills each.
That's a lot of destroyers sunk.
That's a lot of destroyers sunk and lots of everything. So like it just keeps on going. I I think if we were professional at this point, we would probably stop because right now we're just fanboying over numbers. But maybe that's the charm. But yeah, no, I was very proud of this fleet. It did much, and yeah, I had quite a few aces as well, as you can see here. Everything's an ace, basically. Yeah, no, I think that's the end of it. No, actually, the Soviets managed to invade Japan a couple of times and got beaten back by these guys. Um,
That's not an impressive division.
that's not an impressive division. But what is impressive is the amount of core stats we have. So yeah, I guess that counts to something. Um, but yeah, yeah, no, that was it was a crazy game. We had very
We're getting another question from the chat. Did you use the fleet for bombardment when attacking America?
yes, uh, like I used the fleet every way you can use a fleet. I think like they were kiting, and we port struck like pretty much the entire starting fleet of America, and uh, yeah, like nav strike whenever you're not doing anything else, and doing like normal engagement as well. Like this was a very active naval game, which was very fun.
We're also getting a
Um,
question about what the Allied miners are doing at this stage of the game, and I can sort of answer that. Like,
Drinking
other
beer.
than the Pacific Allies, which did get taken out by the Japanese, they are in the USA,
Yeah,
and everyone is still fighting. The Irish are there, the Dutch are there, the Brazilians are there,
yeah. That being said,
Mexico's
like
dead.
there's not a lot of allies left after this. Like India's actually back, funnily enough. Uh, but yeah, it's mostly Canada and South Africa, and France actually had quite a few divisions.
We're also getting another chat hero of the game question about Brazil. What are they doing at this stage? How much rubber do they have?
I wanted to. They have. Oh Jesus Christ! Um, they have a lot. They're not exporting much right now, but I think that's because the like economy. No, the game just ended. Right, it's not correct, but
It's correct.
but still, like this amount of rubber is correct, and it's ridiculous.
It's a very rubbery nation.
Yeah, they've maxed out rubber everywhere pretty much. Ah, Torik. Um, yeah, they've built a whole of two more military factories. I think they have a surprising amount of army for having no military industry.
I mean, aren't there like 60 mils at this stage?
No, they're at 11.
Okay.
it's it's insane.
Oh yeah, then I agree. They shouldn't have that many divisions.
Yeah, and like granted, these aren't amazing, but
They're still divisions.
they're still divisions. Yeah, they are. Um, and these are things they've retaken from Japan, so they've actually done stuff here. I believe I took Madagascar at some point, but
The
yeah,
Brazilians are island hopping.
yeah, that they've been island hopping here. Um, oh no, we didn't properly take the Philippines or this part here. But yeah, so like the idea was like taking all the islands is that if the Allies don't have a port, they can't actually move a fleet in here. So I never needed garrisons here because nothing could invade that far. Um, and that's what you get if you take everything, which we didn't because we missed this one.
And at this stage, I mean, the Allies have different problems than invading Hawaii.
They do, they do. Like if the US capitulated, I'm not sure what would have happened at Bergagårdhof, but like at Banquet, because I then we probably would have capped Canada as well. And honestly, I'm not sure who would have won on points then.
I think that's still an Allied Comintern victory, especially since
Yeah,
they've retaken China.
that's true. Yeah, that's actually true. And they capitulated Manchu. Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, and that India's actually back on the map.
Yeah,
Because I don't think they count as capitulated anymore. Oh, they are, but yeah, okay.
they're indeed being retaken.
They are indeed being retaken. It's not like we could have done anything about that. Like we won.
Siam would have died at some point.
Siam would have died at some point. We had an entirety of 4 divisions here. No, actually 3 and 1 railway gun, which we never produced. Yeah, no, this would not work much. But we had very fun over at the New World. And honestly, like the amount of industry the US has, we could have fight like we could probably fight for a couple of more years, but then again, you also had this industry, so yeah, whatever. And nukes were happening, and everything just kind of.
And I remember looking at the division count at this stage. I mean, I think the Allies, we can't really look at it since the save is bugged.
Yeah, I
But
think I
the
can make
Allies on
one
the
final.
Comintern are like I think 4, 5, or 6 times the amount of fielded divisions.
Yeah, that is probably true. I feel like we're entering the after hours now. Yeah, we have 200, and you have 350, like say 400. So the Allies had twice as much as Japan, and the Soviets have a ridiculous amount more than Japan. I'd probably say like just as much as well. So yeah, yeah, like 4 times is probably accurate. Um, Not counting the factories.
That's also a bit higher on the Allied Comintern side.
Yeah, a bit higher, like marginally, but yeah. Um, no, this was a fun game.
It was. It's the it's the
For me
greatest
at
kinds of
least.
game.
Yes, I think the Allies, like I think you and I had very fun. Uh, I think the Soviets didn't have that long a game because they waited and then they got pushed back and then they won. And Germany kind of had the same story but in reverse.
They
But
pushed and then they lost.
yeah, the Allies had a fun game, and well, I certainly did.
I
Fun
wouldn't.
aside,
I hope the Pacific Allies had fun, but they did get bulldozed.
yeah, that's kind of sad because that's like it's usually quite binary. Um, it's seldom you have like a fight for all of the like an even fight for all of the allied miners because you know Japan tends to concentrate their forces, and that means they always win in the theater they're concentrating on. It's like the Axis thing, obviously, to like have the initiative, but
But the thing that can change that is that
yeah,
if the Americans, which they obviously can, win the naval war, then it becomes so much easier to hold on to the
yeah,
Allied miners.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, like then it would be a slug for Raj, and we would have lost that because like we had a great eco and everything, but we can't win a prolonged war, much like real life Japan. Um, so I guess that's represented well in game.
We're
But
getting
yeah,
a comment from Mossberg, and he says the studio had a great game.
that's very nice to hear. Nice to hear. Uh, they're the ones we're really playing for. Uh, yeah, I can't say I lack resources here because apparently there are quite a few resources in America, so I could do anything I want without importing anything, which is nice. Um, but yeah, we're still
I think
producing
we're
fighter twos and everything. But yeah,
I think
uh,
we're getting close to the end here.
I think so too. I think so too. In summary, we had a great game. I hope we can repeat aspects of it on Sunday
Indeed.
when you and I face off each other. This time over at the Alps, where I'm France and you're Italy. Um, so yeah,
It's going to be an interesting game.
it's gonna be. It's gonna be. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we're ready to end the stream.
Thank you so much for watching, and especially thank you to all the active people in our chat. You're making these casts so much more fun to do.
Yeah, we wouldn't do them without you, to be honest. Um, but yeah, thanks for a good like game.